Story RH, the podcast that makes a long story short.
Welcome to all.
History is made of stories.
In this episode, we'll be rolling out a tool for monitoring the results of our actions.
Another tool. Maybe instead of monitoring actions, we should just act. Wouldn't that get things done faster?
Implementing a follow-up table, well, actually filling it out and using it, can be useful and even save time. So, follow-up tables, why and how to use them. What's the story?
First, let's remember that a follow-up tool can take the shape of an Excel document, a Trello, or the to-do tool on Teams. At its most basic, it's simply about gathering all of the tasks to be completed for a project in one place, assigning the tasks to people, and monitoring their progress. Doing so has quite a few advantages.
First, a comprehensive view of the project. In a single glance, you know who's doing what, on what deadline, and if there are any pressing concerns.
And that means a lighter mental load. No need to remember what you said at the last meeting or when you ran into so-and-so in the hallway. Everything is in the table. It's incredibly useful when you're juggling several projects.
It helps all players on a project to feel more relaxed, actually. As a contributor, you can use a filter on your name to know what you have to do. Sure, it might stress you out briefly if you realize you're behind, but it ensures better management of the project as a whole.
And for the project manager, it's an asset too. No need to go digging through your emails anymore. You can find all of the current tasks in the table, including status and deadline. You can easily see what's running late and select issues to bring up the hierarchy.
That said, it's not magic. Discipline, rigor, and a touch of methodology are necessary. To maximize the tool's usefulness, it needs to be well built and, of course, used.
Here are a few tips.
1 task per line. Take care when selecting the size of tasks to track. You probably don't need to list each mini tasks, but if you go too big picture, you'll have a hard time properly monitoring progress.
Actions start with action verbs. If you make sure to apply this simple rule, it will help you to truly identify what each person has to do. Build, complete, develop, or approve, these aren't the same thing, and you'll need different people to carry them out.
Actions should be assigned to a single person for completion and to another single person for approval. When everyone's responsible for something, nobody is.
Every task has a deadline, so you can always know if you're late or on schedule. And remember, a SOP is not a deadline. If everything is urgent, nothing is.
Including a date allows you to ensure that everything fits into the calendar. And when it doesn't fit, instead of closing your eyes and taking the date off the table, ask yourself the right questions and sound the alert.
Every action needs a status, of course. The most frequently used labels are to begin, ongoing, and completed. But you could also add awaiting approval, on standby, canceled, and more.
Last but not least, you can add a comments column. That way you have a place to enter anything that doesn't fit in the other columns.
Decisions made, obstacles, people to consult, reasons for a delay, and so on. It's also a place to keep minutes and, most importantly, keeps you from misusing other columns.
Here's an important piece of advice. Don't forget to date your comments, or before long you won't know where things stand.
And one more, develop a routine for updating this tool. Often people do it during project committee meetings. That way everyone is informed that you're updating the table at the same time.
Exactly, because you can't count on everyone to be constantly staring at the follow-up table to get a green light. That would be naive.
To recap, project monitoring tools centralize current tasks. They come with several advantages. They reduce mental load, save time, and improve how you manage absences and each person's responsibilities, as long as it's properly filled out with 1 task per line. 1 person responsible for completion, another for approval, a deadline, a status, and a comments section. Is that right?
Exactly right. Way to make a long story short.
Story RH, the podcast that makes a long story short.